So, this was at Moffat Beach. And if you're in a great location and you can see where the light is, so in this scenario, the light is coming from above. It was a bit of a cloudy day. And I've also got a flash that's kind of over here that's right up high because you can just see a little shadow here. Is that rain? No. So knowing where the light's coming from and knowing that they're down, like, and these are all rocks and it's a cliff, I'm standing up on top of the cliff shooting down, I know the light's coming from above. So knowing that, I need to direct them in such a way that either one or both of their heads are tilted up. Because the light's coming from above, I want to highlight one or both of them. How do I do that? Okay, so we need to chin up. So I can't really do chin up for both of them because that would look weird and stupid, all right? So all I've done is I've tilted his head over so I see more of a side profile of him, and I've got him to lean her back a little bit and her to chin up, to kiss him. So she's chin up a little bit, he's head tilted over so I can still see both of their faces. I've got her nose on the side closest to the camera because the girl's nose is always nicer than the boy's nose, right? And then I've got a nice little V shape in here. Everything looks nice and soft. Her hand is nice and soft. They're having a kiss. You can see eyelashes, you can see everything, and it's just nice and works.
Looks like natural.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're ever above, just say to her, hey, put both your hands on his cheeks, tilt him over, have a kiss, and you're done. Oh, my neck. Simple. All right, so this is for all the technical people. If you want to know Milky Way settings, they're there. Okay?
But we're getting that.
No. Oh, yeah, you're getting this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, you're not getting Milky Way training, no.
No.
No. So if you want Milky...
Montfort too, isn't it?
Yep, Chapel in Montfort.
Yeah.
So Milky Way settings. So different types of light. Sun, flash, constant light, window light, reflected light, diffused light. We get all that? Sun. So sun is coming from over there back on them. So I've turned her to look at him side on. So I've got sun on her back. And then I've turned him slightly side on, so looking at her. So both their faces are nicely illuminated. I'm not really sacrificing anyone in this scenario. And just everything looks quite nice. So again, the hot tip here is when you've got a strong direction of light, two people interacting, one's going to suffer. Normally, unless you do something like that. That just comes with practice. So when you've got light, especially strong direction of light like that, think to yourself, right, how can I illuminate both of them and make it look make it look natural, make it look real, and give them a reason to be there? Okay? Flash. So in this one, I've got a flash with a softbox up here, pointed down at him to illuminate this side, and then I've got another flash all the way over this side with a grid on it just to separate him from the background. Flash is super, super good for freezing motion. Okay, so if you've got someone moving like that, we can freeze the motion with the flash. Constant light. So you might think that in this photo they're illuminated by all of these and the candles on the table. No. They're illuminated by this. Okay. So this is sitting on the table, pointed up, and it's illuminating them. Now, the tip here is if you've got a light coming from the bottom, like it looks horrible, okay? So what you need to do is to tilt their faces over so you've got more light hitting everywhere, not from underneath. Okay. This looks horrible. This is ghoul light. This is not too bad, right? So what I've got them to do is I've got them to lean over, so they're facing each other, and I've got them to lean over like that so that the light is lighting them up that way. There's still a little bit of a shadow in their eye sockets and stuff, but it's not bad, and it's nowhere near the raccoon eyes they could have if it was directly underneath, okay? Light underneath looks terrible.
And do you have a light behind them as well?
No.
Red light. Oh, okay.
Wrong button, hang on. No, that was just the room.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yep. Window light. So window light is kind of my favourite light source because it's there all the time. It's so easy to work with. All you need to do is turn the body away, head back in, and we're done. Like it always works. That would be my favourite light source, apart from the one coming through the window in business class. That's my other favourite light source. Doesn't happen very often though. Reflected light. Now, believe it or not, this is a building. She's leaning there, and there is a big white wall over here outside of frame. The sun is hitting that wall, and it's reflecting back and illuminating her that way. Yep. So reflected light. So it can be from a 5-in-1 reflector, which we have over here. Where over there? Over there? Yes. Here's some we prepared earlier. If anyone wants a R5 Mark II, don't have any. Yeah. We're all out. So yeah, reflected light, it can be from a window, a big brick wall. Just bear in mind that with reflected light, you can get a colour cast from whatever it's reflecting off. Okay, how are we going for time? Cool. Diffuse light. So this was a portrait shoot I did for a friend of mine a couple of months back, and this was, I'd never used this light before because it was in a friend's studio, and it was this great big ball of material like this that inflated. It was like a big beach ball kind of deal, and it was all white and fluffy and stuff, and I'm like, that looks awesome. And so we turned that on, and awesome. It was fantastic. I've got a little bit of flash on there just to sort of sharpen things up, but you know, that it was really cool. And the material was kind of like her shirt, and the light just came through it, and it was just so soft and so amazing. Like, you can't see any harsh shadows. All the gradients on her face are just really soft, and it was just really, really good.
Where's your flash?
It was up here, but behind her a bit. So it was kind of coming back, and then the big diffuser sort of thing was over the top. Yeah. But flash was, because it was a softbox, very, very low power. Yeah. So that's all our kind of different forms of light. With this one, I'm mixing all three, or I'm mixing three of them. So I've got flash, so I've got a light behind them, which is backlighting them, backlighting the veil. It's also giving me that highlight and that golden, the ring around his face. I'm using this light over here, off to the right hand side. So it's giving a bit of fill light on this side for both of them. And then the reflector, who can guess where the reflected light's coming from? I'm just going to have a drink while you're all thinking. So we've got veil, face. Anything else? Have any other bids?
Do you have a reflector over here that's reflecting the flashlight?
Nope. But I could do.
The roof?
Yes. No. No.
Mount?
You win. Good spot. So what's happening is I've directed them in such a way that she is slightly behind him. And instead of me shooting with him in front and her slightly behind, I've changed my angle a little bit so that they're both on a similar plane. And I'm at f4 I think it was, 70 to 200, and I'm zoomed right in. So I'm using the full compression of that lens. So that all of this goes all bokeh in the background. But it's still keeping them both sharp. And what's happening is the flash is hitting his face because she's offset. What it's doing is it's bouncing off his face and it's illuminating the other side of her face. And it's giving me a little bit of light at the front here as well. Not much, but enough. Good spot. I didn't realise I did it until about a year or two afterwards, and I went, oh, that was cool, now I understand. Idiot. So now we know to look for the good light and find it in the environment that you're in. How does it show up on your subjects? So have you all heard of the lighting patterns that are most commonly used? Broad light, short light, split light, Rembrandt light. Do you all, okay? Well, you're in luck.
You're going to tell us.
So broad light. I'm gonna power through these a little bit. So broad lighting is basically lighting that comes from the front. Okay? Flooding light in this direction. Great for a slim face. Not that great for a face like mine, because it broadens everything. It's good for bad skin though. So if someone's got big pores, not so much acne, it'll help a little bit, but more so bigger pores and that sort of stuff, and a little bit of scarring or something like that. Broad light from the front takes away any of the shadows, and it softens everything. Because light from the side is going to show you all the lumps and bumps, whereas this way, it's going to illuminate everything, fill in all the shadows, and then it comes through. It works as a smoother face.
Have you got a tip for acne?
Sorry?
Have you got a tip for acne?
I do. Photoshop. No, it's a plug-in called Retouch for me.
Yeah, I've got that too.
You got that too? Yeah. I'll tell you about it later. So broad light is good for a slimmer face because it can widen things a little bit. Good for pores, acne, smoothing everything off. All right? Split light. So split light is lighting that comes from 90 degrees to one side. Normally level with the face. Okay? So you're going to have one side in shadow, the other side bright. Now, it's normally more of a masculine sort of form of lighting that you'll see mostly on men, but you can get away with it with women as well if you're going for quite a masculine look and if they've got quite a chiseled face. Okay, you tend to see it on women in the fashion mags and that sort of stuff when they're going for something that's really directed and really staged, or they've got a serious theme that they're going for. That's when you'll see it. Normally, don't really see it too much in portraits and weddings and that sort of stuff because it's just too harsh. All right, unless you're going for quite a heavy light and shadow look, and then it's good. But it's just as easy to go turn the face a little bit and that changes everything again. All right? Short light. So short lighting is whereby we're illuminating the side of the face that's furthest away from the camera. Does that make sense? Yeah. Camera is here. I'm looking directly at the camera. If I turn this way, we're illuminating this side of the face. And I'm going to show you a practical application of this a little bit later, much to Hayley's dismay. So what short lighting does is by illuminating the side of the face furthest away from the camera, it creates what they call a short side of the face or a shadow side. And then with that shadow side, that tends to chisel the face a little bit. Okay? If I'm looking this way, camera's over here, all in shadow here, if we swing it around and we get it wrong, all of this looks big. Can we all see that? That's why when all of these young'uns are taking selfies for Insta or whatever, they're like trying to find the right angle. Eventually they get it right, but they don't know that they need a short side of the face, okay? Short side, shadow side, sexy side, whatever you want to call it. That short side or that shadow side is going to chisel things, it's going to trim things down. If you've got a wider face, perfect for that. Okay?
It's nice lighting.
Yeah, and it's generally like it's nice, it's soft. As you can see here, there's no real heavy shadows there. The gradients there are quite soft. The only thing is, if you normally with short lighting, it's 45 to the side and 45 up. Okay. And so, well, it can be 90 to 45 in sort of that range. Because when you get up to here, that's when we start getting into Rembrandt light. Okay, around that 45 and above. So the only thing you've got to be careful of is that with light coming from that direction, from that 45 up and above, or up and to the side, you can tend to highlight shoulders. And if say you're photographing a bride, she's got a white dress that's covering her shoulders, that white shoulder is going to be brighter than her face because it's closer to the light than her face.
That's going to blow it out.
Shoulder will look big too.
And the shoulder can look a little bit big. Yep, so that's why you've got to lean her over a little bit so that head and shoulder is on the same plane.
Is that also why you've got a hair covering a shoulder on the other side?
No, because that side will be in shadow anyway. Yep, yep. It's more. Look, hang on. It's more that side. But what I've done is just be very careful with the lighting, and that's window light too. That's not even one of these. That's window light that's just coming through. I'm a furniture removalist when I go to Benny's laughing. So many of these venues just must walk into a room and just go, what the hell were they doing? Because there is just shit everywhere. Like everything's moved, beds are moved, but I will drag, and Benny's helped me, I will drag a couch closer to the window for the light. Even if I've got to move kitchen table, all the chairs and everything, I will move it. And they've got to put it back afterwards. So short light. Everyone cool with that? Yep. Rembrandt light. So Rembrandt light is light 45 to the side, 45 up, and this form of lighting is characterized by that little harsh triangle underneath the opposite eye. So light's coming from up here, coming down, illuminating this eye socket, casting a shadow off the nose and giving a little triangle under there. They call it Rembrandt light because it's reminiscent of the lighting that he used to use, but not named. There's a whole thing, there's a whole story. Google the story about Rembrandt light, how it was named, and you'll go, oh, that's weird. Right? Sorry, I'm full of useless facts. All right, chiaroscuro lighting technique. So this lighting basically demonstrates what I just showed you with the short lighting and with this Rembrandt lighting. So if we look at the direction of light, so the direction of light that's applied to, say, applied to a sphere, all right? So it's dark here, the light comes in, there's a highlight where the light hits first, the light tapers off to shadow, and then we've got light again from the light area behind the sphere, and then it goes dark. So there's a symphony of dark, light, dark, light, dark. And that little symphony is very pleasing to the eye. And that's what, when I'm taking wedding photos or portrait photos, I'm looking for that symphony of light. The reason I'm looking for that is because it creates depth and dimension. It makes the subject look more 3D. If I'm doing this, it's not really 3D because I'm lighting me and I'm lighting the background as well. As soon as I do this, we've got depth and dimension in the face, in the body, in everything. So whenever you're photographing, I would challenge you to look for this. And when you've got a day or two to spare, Google this. Okay?
Gotta pronounce it,
Yeah, it took me a little while. And I'm still scared saying it. You know when you're scared to say something because you don't know if you're saying it right? I'm still scared. All right. Newton. So to every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. How do we apply that to photos? Light and shadow. Without light, there can be no shadow. And when it comes to shadow, it is just as important as light. Light comes in and illuminates things. Shadow hides things. So if there's something that your client, your subject is concerned about or has a hang up about, and they want to hide that, how can we hide it? With shadow. We can amplify things with shadow. So if someone's concerned about their arms, we pull a veil over it, we hide it that way. We can also adjust the lighting so it's coming in from above. So we've got shadows here and shadow here. So think about the shadow as much as you think about the light. And as much as the light is the first thing that we need to consider when we take a photo, look at the light, look at your subject, stop and breathe. And don't just go, oh, I've got to get it. Stop and breathe, take a breath, look at how the light's falling, look at what it looks like and go, right, what do I want to achieve here? What do I want to amplify or hide here? And how can I use the light to do that? Does that land for everyone? Has anyone got any questions? Because that's going to wrap up our lighting section, because the posing one's a bit bigger. Yes?
Two different types of lighting patterns together.
Not really, because do you know what? I don't know, because one will normally cancel the other one out. Because if you've got light coming from this way and then you're trying to illuminate here as well, it's going to be a battle of intensity.
Yeah.
So whichever one is the most intense is going to win.
Yeah.
If they're both the same, then you're just going to have an illuminated face or illuminated body all the way around. Does anyone have a question? Anything? Anything? Yes?
You talked about light from flashes and elf boxes.
Yep.
You see a lot of things these days where they use ring lights.
Yep.
Same sort of effect as the light you've got over there?
To a degree. So it's the same in the way that it's going to illuminate your subject. The difference is the catch light's in the eyes. So with a ring light, depending on the actual size of the ring light, depends on the size of the catch light and the shape of the catch light in their eyes. So with this, you're going to get like a little, almost a square kind of catch light, or a little rectangle sort of catch light in the eyes. And when it comes to a catch light in the eyes, you want that above the pupil. So level with the pupil, the black part, isn't it? That's the black part? Yeah. Yes. I've forgotten what's happening. So either level with the pupil, so on the same plane, or above. That's where your catch light needs to be. It can be any side, doesn't matter. When the catch light is below, looks freaky. Okay? And that's when you know that you've got light coming from down here. Yep, as opposed to up here. Yep. Yeah, it's very different.
And with the beauty dish, that's the same sort of effect as the ring light?
Yep, same. Yep. So as long as, like, when you see a lot of these ring light photos, you see the actual ring in their eyes. And the diameter of that ring light, if it gets too big and it's too close, it can actually look like a white ring where the colour of the eye should be, and that looks freaky too. But if you're going for a kind of a weird Halloween-y kind of deal, then you can do that, and it's effective. But there's a ring light over there. It's about that big, say 14 inches, size of a pizza. Yeah. So yeah, you're looking for it. So about the size of a pizza. That's perfect. So anything bigger, sort of, then you start to need to go further away. And when you go further away, it needs to be more and more powerful. Okay? So with things vary. So with lighting like this, obviously the further you go away, the less intense the light. But the further you go away, the softer the light. So if you come up nice and close, we got harsh shadows, right? But when you go away, obviously the intensity drops off, but the shadows also drop off and they become a lot smoother. That's the case for light like this, constant light, or undiffused light to a degree. When you're using a flash, because a flash is a heavily directed source of light, and when it's undiffused, it's going to give you harsh shadows no matter the distance. When you've got a flash with a big softbox, like a big sort of nice diffuser, the closer it is and the lower the power it is, the softer the light looks. So it's different for different sources of light. Okay? So does anyone use flash? Who's? Yep. Constant lights? No? Strobes? Yep. So I bought this. This is the most expensive fishing light on the planet. I bought this about 8 years ago. And
Is it called a wand or what's it called?
it's called an ice light.
An ice light.
An ice light, yeah. But there is other versions. Here's one we prepared earlier. Nan light, which we sell here.
What do you call it?
Nan light. Nan light.
Oh man.
I'm not going to drop it because Sean will have kittens. But it's it's not mine. But these are available here, obviously, and they are a lot more robust than that.
Oh,
Okay, and I would say a fraction of the price.
And they're variable density.
Yes,
Intensity, sorry.
variable intensity. Yep, same as this one, but this is one of those lights you've got to be very careful of, because I've seen them dropped and they don't fare very well when they're dropped. Okay, they're a lot tougher and they're a lot more robust. Okay, but having something like this is amazing, and
That's 849.
oh, gee, look at the whole size.
so that's what, $849. $849. This is US, about 1100 US. Oh, sorry, 1100 Australian. So it's about 700 US. And it's because of the name. It's because of the guy who created it. That's all it is. Yeah, they've been out for a long time. But it's a great light, and I've used it countless times. So if you have the opportunity, grab something like that, because they are incredibly useful, even a smaller one. So good. How are we all doing? We cool?
Good.
Yep.
Ben, slightly smaller
Nah.
than that one, 139 nanolights.
Oh, really? So,
Come in multiple different
Three
sizes.
different sizes. That size is the big one, 15, and then the biggest, which is the 30.
yeah. How much was it? 100 what?
139 for the 6. See nanolight.
Put a couple away from you, will you?
In case he drops it.
In case I drop mine. I haven't got it to spend. All right, everyone cool with lighting?
Yeah.
Do you have any lighting questions? Are you sure? Because I don't want anyone to go away not getting what they came for.
We've
Seen the light?
I'm old and I don't think about it until I get
Do you
home.
often- do you
It
often
comes
just
later on,
use-
you think, shit, I should ask that.
Do you often just use flash in a really underexposed scene?
Sorry, what was that again?
Do you often just use flash in a really underexposed scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So some of my most favourite flash photos have been taken in pitch black. So actually, hey Ben, can you hit just the arrow and go back to the start?
Right to start.
Yeah, right to the start. Bam. So pretty much pitch black, that was. So there was a little bit of light coming from this, but that was like a handful of those battery operated little LED things inside that.
Oh,
Okay, so it wasn't that bright. That's a Photoshop glitter roll. Okay. Do we know what a Photoshop glitter roll is?
No.
Anyone that was here before might. So I'm a huge advocate of getting it right in camera. So you take a gem and then you polish it in Photoshop afterwards, because that's what Photoshop is for, to polish a gem. If you take a turd, all you can do is roll it in glitter. Okay. So that is a Photoshop glitter roll. Okay, so all I've done is light it up. But with these guys, I've got a flash on with a softbox pretty much straight over them. It was like here, and back in when that was taken, I had to manually do that. There wasn't generative fill, so we had to take it out manually, but there's a flash there pointing down on them, and it's illuminating them. And we've got a couple of candles over here, but the flash that I'm using is illuminating just enough of everything, but pretty well pitch black.
And what sort of shutter speed you got for that?
Probably about a 50th of a second.
50, yeah.
Yep, because I want to get the ambience there as well. Like I'm probably ISO 1000. Like I'm.
Exposing for the candles. Or not really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I'm exposing for that little bit of light coming from the candles and the ambience of it as best I can, and then I'm adding the light in. But I'm one of these people, even though I'm using R6s. Wouldn't mind an R3, but anyway. So I'm using R6s, and although the low light capacity in the ISO is a little bit better than the previous R5s because there's a smaller sensor, I'm still terrified of going over 1000 ISO. Like I'm someone who will hold my breath till I go blue to hand hold it down to a 10th of a second, as opposed to upping my ISO to 2000. Much to my detriment. I should go to 2000 because it's just a lot easier to clean up now with all the denoise and everything that we've got in Photoshop. But I'm just like, I'm scared of that degradation of quality to a degree. All right. So this would have been at 1000 because it would have been as much as I would have gone. And this was 1DX Mark II. This wasn't mirrorless either. So 1000 ISO, probably 50th of a second, and it would have been 2.8.